The two sides line up. Saints have pretty much got a clean bill of health with the exception of long-term absentee Jason Kalis. So it's Wellens at full-back, then it's Gardner, Gidley, Eastmond and Melly, Price and Long. The forwards, Graham, Cunningham, who's the skipper, and Pulatua, Flannery, Wilkin and Gilmore. And on the bench, Roby, Hargreaves, Clough and Farsivalou. The coach is Mick Potter. Huddersfield have suspended Keith Mason and Scott Moore for breaches of club discipline, so the side has a very strange look about it tonight. Cudjoe is the full-back. Then they go Aspinwall, Finnegan in the centres alongside Michael Lawrence and David Hodgson on the wing. Brett Hodgson has moved to stand off. He's the skipper and will operate alongside Luke Robinson. The forwards, Sculthorpe, Fulton at hooker and Jackson, Wild, Raleigh and Fatuira at loose forward. And on the bench, it's Crabtree, Griffin, Lunt and Patrick. And the coach is Nathan Brown. So it's St Helens against Huddersfield coming up. Off we go to Knowsley Road. Let's join Barry, Terry, but first of all, it's Bill Arthur.
And great travelling support here for the Huddersfield Giants as they seek to make progress in the playoff series at the expense of one of the most experienced campaigners in the playoff system, St Helens. The two sides taking the field together, and this Huddersfield Giants lineup, as Eddie was saying, looking slightly unfamiliar. Coach Nathan Brown making the point to me a short time ago in the tunnel that it's probably going to look different again out there on the field. While Saints have got virtually their strongest side out there, only Kalis missing. This is a Huddersfield Giants shorn of several players, and Terry, I think we will see several players operating in several positions.
You've got to imagine Brett Hodgson, normally the full-back for the Giants, he'll be playing as the pivot. Luke Robinson will be filling in at dummy half. Fatuira will revert back to centre, not loose forward, and you can see Simon Finnegan going back into that back row.
Referee this evening in this first of two games on Sky Sports then is Richard Silverwood, ready to get us underway. And these two sides have served up some pretty compelling rugby league this season in a Challenge Cup semi-final, which the Giants won, and then in two Super League games, both of which St Helens won, but the most recent of them only by the skin of their teeth, and that was against a very understrength Giant side. This a lot more like it for the Giants, and they'll be hoping to go through to the next stage of the playoff competition. Of course, the losers stay alive, will be in action next week. The winners get a week off.
And Bill, playoff football is all about who can handle the pressure the best. The game's quicker, the hits are bigger and stronger, and it's which team can keep their heads and keep their composure.
There's Paul Jackson playing the ball. He's playing out his final few games at the Giants before moving on to Castleford, returning to Castleford for next season. Now here is Brett Hodgson with the kick. And finding Francis Melly, who untangles himself to get a hold of that ball.
Of course, the interesting selection is Brett Hodgson in the standoff role and being one of the better players and the most consistent player for Huddersfield. You'd want him to have more involvements, more kicks, more runs, more passes, and you'd hope that Huddersfield can take advantage of that.
Brett Hodgson has scored in every game he's played in this season. That's 26 games. There is James Graham, reigning man of steel. Brett Hodgson, interestingly, strongly tipped to succeed him to that honour this season, and that will all become clear in a few weeks' time. So Hodgson very much the main man for this Giant side, and there he is in possession, and strange to think he is the main man when you look at him. He's such a slender figure, there's not a lot on him.
He's got very good balance at the back of the park, and he can really read the game. St Helens started really slow last week against Catalan, and the forwards really do need to step up around that middle. St Helens play the game really quick, and that's where they need to be. They need to get the quick play of the balls so the outside backs, like Sean Long, can exploit them.
Zandy Raleigh tackled on the 40-metre line in his own half by Kieran Cunningham. Cunningham announcing this week that he's staying on for another season, but it'll be his last. That's the fifth tackle. Graham with the tackle, and here is Liam Fulton, and Fulton stepping out of trouble, but then finding himself back in trouble and offloading to Pugliatua. And has Tony Pugliatua got the legs? He might well have. He has. What a disaster that was for Liam Fulton. He was caught in two minds, and the pass eventually landed in the hands of Tony Pugliatua, and the big front rower gets his 14th try of the season. What a return that is for this Kiwi and Samoan international, who showed a fair turn of pace there.
Absolutely outstanding kick pressure from Saints here. A hurried offload, drops into the hands of Pugliatua, and he backs himself all the way. And for 10 metres, he has two Huddersfield defenders on him. Fulton can't find the gap, throws a wild pass. Look at the determination on Pugliatua. He has support, and two defenders can't stop him. That's the start that Saints were looking for.
Tony Pugliatua got his first St Helens try against the Giants back in February in the 23-6 win at the Gal Farm. So he's on the score sheet again, and he's been a good acquisition, the only real major acquisition for St Helens ahead of this season. Now Eastman with the conversion attempt, a formality for him. So that is the perfect start for St Helens. If they were a little bit low on confidence after a shaky run of form, that is perfect for Mick Potter's side.
The St Helens team really control the speed of which Huddersfield are playing the ball, and it's very, very hard for Fulton to kick on the front foot. Nathan Brown will be disappointed in the way that his troops have started today, but the defensive start by St Helens has been much improved from last week.
So is that a consequence of players having to play out of position or adopt to new roles? Although, having said that, Liam Fulton is accustomed to that standoff role. He just got wrapped up by some very good Saints kick pressure.
He's named at hooker, but I reckon he's there because he's such a good defender. You see him at marker there. He'll work specifically in that middle channel.
Is Wilkin playing the ball. John Wilkin continuing to play despite this knee condition he's suffering from, a bit of floating bone in the kneecap, which is causing him a bit of trouble, but he's seeing out this season. Probably going to have surgery, well, will have surgery surely during the close season. High tackle on Matt Gidley was Fatuira.
Matt Gidley. Michael Flack, it'd be fantastic if he had footwork like this guy. Just puts a little bit of a step on, he tries to go on the outside, and Fatuira goes to knock his arm down. Gives the penalty away. And again, St Helens really playing on that front foot, playing with real speed around the ruck. That's what's troubling Huddersfield at the minute.
We just felt the impact of that tackle from Fatuira. So the penalty again allows Saints to put a bit of pressure on this Giant side. And here is Graham. Now Cunningham takes him down the short side, puts the brakes on, changes direction, finds James Graham again. Missed last week against the Dragons, Graham. Back in action, Cunningham. Here is Sean Long, who by his own standards, his own admission, had a stinker against the Dragons last week, looking for a big improvement here tonight. Price, Wellens now, Wellens. Stopped by Fulton. Paul Jackson in there with the tackle as well. Graham. Oh, he's lost that ball. Picked up by Lawrence, and now Fatuira. Was that a revenge? Was that a revenge tackle by Gidley?
Let's have a look, Bill. Gidley not normally noted for that kind of play, but a good duel. Looking forward to that. It was offside, the referee shouted then. I've watched the tackle and can't see too much wrong with the tackle itself. Both of those players, Gidley and Fatuira, got excellent footwork and great pace. Good shot.
Saints are up for this. Flannery in there on Andy Raleigh. That look forward. Short pass from Hodgson to Jackson.
Did well Jackson then. He had two defenders in front of him. Got a good low body angle and went for the quick play of the ball.
The Giants just a little bit rattled at the moment, really finding St Helens up in their faces early on here. Jackson As you'd imagine, this is a Saints side who think of Old Trafford as a second, if not third home. Sculthorpe's pass finds Stephen Wild. Wild back for Finnegan. Finnegan keeping it alive. Oh, Fulton just managing to keep a hold of it. Hodgson, Pugliatua all over him. He's all over the place at the moment, Tony Pugliatua.
Fantastic defence from St Helens. Every offload met with a Saints defender.
Robinson's kick, not a good one, but Melly takes his time about fielding it and then motors back.
Nathan Brown's obviously got some problems. Stephen Wild really struggling on this right side. He's put his hand up, he's saying he'll be fine, let him run it off. He will be a big loss if he has to go to the sidelines.
Wild just down below us and hobbling into the Giants' defensive line.
And Saints have seen him and they're attacking him, they're trying to find him.
Price straight up the middle. Quick play the ball from Leon Price. Saints on a roll. Cunningham for Graham. Oh, that's a short pass that is snaffled up by Andy Raleigh. Cunningham complaining that there was a Giants hand in there. Referee having nothing to do with it.
How many other options have St Helens got? Every time they take the ball to the line, somebody's in support, pushing up into that next hole. Here's Kieran Cunningham, he's got Graham. Graham looks to offload that ball to Long. But again, started really strong in this opening 8 minutes, St Helens.
Saints look as though they want to banish the memory of some of the recent shaky home form. 4 home defeats this season, their worst return since 2003. Hull KR, Bradford, Wakefield and most recently Catalan have won here. It's not something Saints are used to on their own park. Big hit on Hodgson. Cunningham just letting him know he was around. Hodgson gets back to his feet. Brett Hodgson, that is. That's the 5th tackle. Fulton this time doesn't hang around, getting the kick away. High one, Gardner underneath it, David Hodgson all over him. Flannery gets it at the 2nd attempt and finds Wilkin very quickly. They're trying to get Francis Melly away. Melly taking on Cutcho, trying to run straight through him, and Stephen Wild, gammy leg and all, makes the tackle.
Classic Saints play, straight on from defence to attack.
Oh, and then a stray pass is picked up by Fatuira. They're not squeaky clean, Saints.
Certainly a fast pace to this game.
And they were offside there. They were trying to regroup after that mistake.
Saints are really trying to take control of this ball. There's a high kick to Gardner, and when Gardner failed to regather, here we see the penalty. And Huddersfield in their haste. What are we doing? There's the loose pass. Fasuira picks it up. And again, both teams, as soon as they get the ball, they're looking to attack. Perhaps a sign of how quick the opening 9, almost 10 minutes have been. Huddersfield want to take the 2 points. Don't discount Huddersfield Giants tonight.
Brett Hodgson then will line up this penalty goal. He's got a great return, as we've mentioned already. Scored points in every game he's played in this season. He averages 9.5 points a game.
Liam, put on the ball, mate, when we're playing it.
And this one, bang in the middle of the field, 30 or so metres out. Just to steady the nerves, I think, a little bit for the Giants, just to calm things down, get points on the board. And Brett Hodgson continues this point-scoring run he's on at the moment. The Giants are underway, 6-2 in favour of Saints.
And that's it, Bill, because this game started at such a frantic pace. What they need to do is really get the marbles together, control, get the focus back on knowing what they've got to do, because St Helens were just playing the ball a lot quicker than their opposites and really playing on that front foot. They have so many options, St Helens, when they play the ball so quick. Huddersfield really do need to start controlling the speed of that ruck and to play the ball, which St Helens are playing it.
Paul Wellens will spot this up again. Making his 350th appearance for Saints, having missed last week against the Catalan Dragons. Wellens gets us underway again after the Giants' success with that penalty. Here is Danny Sculthorpe. Paul Jackson now. Jackson just playing his way back to form really after an injury or two. That ball's come out. He's saying that it was stolen.
Now, how many times do you see this? You must concentrate when you're bringing that ball. See, he tried to get that away. Whether Flannery's arm was in there or not, Jackson definitely looked to try and offload that ball. putting his team under all kinds of pressure now. It was a must-complete set of 6 for Huddersfield, that.
Make sure we get close.
Shake of a head from the very experienced Paul Jackson, 31 years of age. But now St Helens with Gidley. Desperately trying to get free of the tackle of Michael Lawrence. Long now. Tony Pugliatua, try-scorer, already for St Helens. 2 tackles gone.
Go.
Cunningham. Long. Clutches the ball out of the air. Here is Leon Price. Price. Kyle Eastman. Then Eastman almost through. Still going Eastman. Is he over the line? He's held up, says the referee.
But again, the balance, the speed of Kyle Eastman going to that line. He steps off his left foot. He tries everything to get this ball down. See, Cudjoe done a good job to hold him up. But Saints are still pressurising the line of St Helens, of Huddersfield, sorry.
Here is James Graham now. 4 tackles gone, I beg your pardon. Price once more, Price trying to step his way through. Oh, so elegant, so easy. Supremely done by Leon Price there. He just drifted past the Giants defenders, left them clutching at shadows. And Leon Price gets try number 16 for the Saints this season. Muted celebrations from him.
Francis.
But the error earlier on has been punished by Saints.
Here's where Kyle Eastman thought he was over. It was good defence by Huddersfield to keep him out there. But Leon Price is one of the best players in Super League. He looks up and he plays what's in front of him. He doesn't go through with the call all the time. He looks up, he knows that if he takes the ball to the line, he starts asking a couple of questions. He pumps the ball, he steps left, he steps right. Hands off. He's got amazing balance and amazing vision.
Leon Price aiming for a 9th grand final in his career. Phenomenal record he's got, and Kyle Eastman's, by comparison, a mere stripling, just 20 years of age. But assuming the goal-kicking duties here, Sean Long is on the field, but hasn't had the best of times of it with the boots. So Kyle Eastman's got the job, but he's missed with that one as well. But they're threatening every time they get near that Giants line of Saints.
Leon Price with 2 hands on the ball. Right foot, left foot. Great balance, as we mentioned before. And Stephen Wild, the person who he beat, is one of the best defenders in Super League. And he's just chasing Ghost.
Well done.
Aidy Gardner underneath that one, and chance for him to run with the ball. Gardner, whose career began at Barrow, 30 appearances for Barrow early in his career. He'll no doubt be very chuffed that the Barrow Raiders have got through to the Championship Grand Final. It's come a long way since those days, of course. International player now. The Saints looking more like Saints. They've been a shadow of the former selves at times this season. Of course, exposed by Huddersfield in that Challenge Cup semi-final. But this probably the strongest lineup that Mick Potter can put out at the moment. Jason Kalis, the shoulder problem, keeping him out and probably keeping him out for the remainder of the season.
And he's the only player that's missing. And when you've got a team like St Helens, they've got some real big game players who've been there, they've done that. They've been in this position many times before, and they know exactly what they've got to do. And at the minute, it's paying dividends to them. The speed of the line's fantastic. They're controlling the speed of which Huddersfield are playing the ball.
Foot on it, David!
Sculthorpe. Tackled by Gilmore.
You talk about those memories, Tez. Paul Jackson, he forces an offload, the ball gets knocked on. And Saints know if you don't take your chances and your opportunities, you might regret that come the end of the game. They certainly haven't done that so far.
Gardner runs into the tackle from Martin Aspinwall. Now here goes Paul Wellens. And Saints making pretty comfortable progress up the field. Flannery. Well, we've got, of course, coming up later on this evening, another one of the playoff games, the showdown between the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats and the Catalan Dragons. And that follows this game at 8 o'clock from the Herwell Stadium at Bellevue. In the meantime, we've got Saints 10-2 up here against the Huddersfield Giants in the second of the playoff games. Leeds beating Hull Kingston Rovers last night. Here's Melly. Sean Long now. Long. Kick over the top, and Wild is there to field the ball. for the Giants. Seems to have run off that knee injury that he picked up, but runs straight into James Graham and Kieran Cunningham.
And you mentioned last night, Bill, just say a big hello to Chev Walker, who had a dreadful, horrific injury. So many people in rugby league. St Helens getting penalised there. So many people in rugby league, all concerned for Chev's well-being. Everybody in rugby league would like to wish him a speedy recovery.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what was really moving last night was hearing not just the Rovers supporters singing One Chev Walker, but you had the South Stand singing One Chev Walker as well.
Do you know what moved me? He actually lifted himself onto the stretcher
and he applauded
and was waving when he was going off. Unbelievable.
A tough guy, Chev, and we're a very thoughtful family in rugby league, and we know that players play the game hard and they don't like to be injured. It's an unfortunate occupation, Al Hazard, but good luck to him.
Meanwhile here, Saints 10-2 up, and Paul Jackson again feeling the force of some really fired up Saints defending there. They're up for this game, Saints. Missed out on a Wembley appearance, and they don't want to miss out on the honours this season. First time without a trophy perhaps since 2003. Unthinkable for Saints. Beaten to the league leaders' shield by the Leeds Rhinos. Here is Liam Fulton. The Giants with just a penalty to show for their efforts, and they haven't really managed to put any pressure on the Saints line yet. Long time that pick up to perfection, and then plays the ball, quick play the ball.
And that looked like a poor kick, but it came from the kick pressure that Saints put in. The crowd are really getting behind Richard Silverwood, feeling that Huddersfield are offside.
Fatawira cut Paul Wellens down there like a scythe. Here is Tony Pugliatua. Signed a 3-year deal when he joined Saints in the first year of that, as he plays the ball inside the Giants half just. James Graham now. That's the fifth tackle. Long screaming for the ball, but it's gone to Wilkin, and Wilkin's kick into the arms of Brett Hodgson, and not the best kick. And Hodgson's lost that ball. Great tackle from Eastman. And then offside, I think, against the Giants.
Hodgson going across him, caught in two minds, Huddersfield. Kyle Eastman come up with a real good shot. Brett Hodgson, normally safe as houses, he wasn't expecting that, and you can see Sculthorpe, who's in an offside position, gives the penalty away. Saints straight on the attack, but what a shot by Eastman.
And Saints not hanging around to debate whether they go for two or not. They're keeping the pressure on, and the pressure really is on the Giants, and they concede another penalty because of that. Finnegan and Sculthorpe trying to delay things.
Simon Finnegan really knows that they've got to slow down the speed of which St Helens are playing this ball.
Here's Graham now, right underneath those Giants posts. Cunningham, long short pass for Gilmore, but Gilmore runs straight into Lawrence and Jackson with the defence. It's Andy Raleigh in there to make the tackle. Flannery takes the short pass again.
Saints continually taking that short side option.
And again they do, this time out wide to Gardner, and Gardner is nailed. Good defence by David Hodgson, saw that one coming. Price now. Here is Wellens. Wellens finds Eastman. Eastman trying to go outside Robinson, and does so, and can't get the play. Can to Melly. Gets the pass away to Melly superbly. What work from little Kyle Eastman. Heading for the sideline. He just managed to pop the pass out to Francis Melly. And Melly ghosting in for another Saints try. His 15th of the season.
The hallmark of Huddersfield this year has been the compression of defence, and Saints have recognised that. And their movement from right to left. Here's the mistake from Kyle Eastman. It gives Saints possession in a really dangerous part of the pitch. It goes from touchline to touchline. Look at the width and accuracy of those passes. Straight into the danger man. Uh-oh! Speed, lovely one-handed offload. And Francis Melly just has to pick it up. Accuracy, speed, width, outstanding from St Helens here tonight. What about this acceleration? Sells the dummy. Outstanding. Kyle Eastman really has a future in this game. His agility, his speed, the threat he has when he's got the ball in his hand really has made the world of Super League take note. The world of rugby league, actually.
Kyle Eastman, a candidate for the Young Player of the Year, I should imagine, at the Man of Steel Awards night with this conversion attempt. And just wide of the target. That's a couple of misses with the boots from St Helens. 14-2 the scoreline in favour of St Helens, and Melly the try scorer, but Eastman very much the creator.
Kyle Eastman done ever so well, and he straightened the play up. Oh, that look, the touch forward. Melly still goes in for the try, but he straightens the play up. He makes Luke Robertson very hesitant in what he does, and then he knows he has the speed to get on the outside of him, pass the ball to that guy, Francis Melly.
He's had a bit of a drought by his standards in recent weeks, Francis Melly. That's only his second try in the last 5 games. The other one was the match winner against the Giants in that 12-10 win last month. It's already seeming that we will not be quite so close tonight, because St Helens very much in control of this one.
Huddersfield again really defending on the heels. They're not getting off the line quick. They're not getting numbers in. In the season normally we've seen them 2-3 men in the tackle, really slowing them down. Better defence by Wild and by Finnegan.
Here's Price again, hit that ball at pace, but was brought down by Liam Fulton on the last tackle. Sean Long just stepped outside the 40 to put the kick in, and again Brett Hodgson moves across to take the kick and then finds David Hodgson.
Hodgson, who caught that ball on the full, he made the mistake which led to that try. I don't think Saints are going to have it their own way tonight. They've raced into a 14 points to 2 lead. There's only 23 minutes gone. You look at the bench: Griffin, Crabtree, Patrick and Lump. The Saints surrendering a penalty there.
This is where the speed of the line, getting off the line, trying to intimidate their opposition. They know that if Big Earl Crabtree gets a big ramp up of speed, he's very difficult to stop.
And that was right at the front of the mind by James Graham then.
The offside penalty giving Huddersfield a rare sniff of this St Helens goal line now. Andy Raleigh takes the first hit up for the Giants. And another penalty goes the way of the Giants. Nathan Brown just urging his side to keep the pressure on.
They'll just want to get some possession. Spent a large part of this game defending.
Quick play the ball. There's Lon Patrick off the bench.
Move! And up the ball, go!
Here's Hodgson. Hodgson, bit of a tangle outside him, so he decides to go himself. Gets away from Cunningham, changing the route, and here is Crabtree. Crabtree trying to go over the top of Wellens, still standing. Lon Patrick couldn't take the pass, and an offside penalty again.
Earl Crabtree had the ball in one hand. He was looking for support. What a glorious pass. Just threaded him through that gap. Brett Hodgson, he's only slight, Bill, we've mentioned that, but he's very quick, very agile. And that's what Huddersfield need. Continuous possession and make Saints defend.
That was a warning for Saints.
And this is what they can do. Hodgson goes across, he's got footwork, pushes off, and Big Earl Crabtree hits a real good line, comes back against the grain, but Wellens come up with an amazing tackle there.
Well, was Patrick tackled before he got the ball? That might be a question that the Giants supporters are asking.
I thought so, Bill, definitely.
One player that I think that Huddersfield are missing at the minute is Brett Hodgson out the back. Because he's playing as a pivot, he's up in the line. There's nobody coming out the back, coming up with that extra man in the line.
Interesting kick, which Aidy Gardner was chasing for all his work, but David Hodgson, a seasoned campaigner, was back to field that ball.
It's a very kind bounce. It bounced right into his hands. Huddersfield get the ball back.
Move! Hold, go!
What can they do? I don't think they've had a chance to work on the game plan that they set out with at the start of the week.
Move!
Meanwhile, away from the action, Stephen Wild having another visit from the physio, who's given the thumbs up to the sidelines to suggest that Wild's okay to continue. He did get that bang on the knee early on. That's the 5th tackle
Foot on it! Go! Well done. No.
And Hodgson
Okay.
drills the kick up the middle of the field. Wellens goes to trap it. Skips past him, and by the time he turns, the chasers are there, and Wellens just gets the ball back in the field of play.
Wellens does ever so well, and he looked up and he could see a line of Huddersfield defenders putting all kinds of pressure off him. But again, a relieving run by Eastman.
Go!
Here is Francis Melly. Gilmore was hoping for a pass from Melly there.
Look at this line. He looks up, he sees the defenders coming to him.
Wild complaining that there was a knock on there from Roby. Long, outside his 40, puts the kick in. Hodgson, David, back there. And Hodgson tries to go round Leon Price. Nothing doing.
Well, that's an amazing set of 6 by St Helens. They were trapped on the line. Within 2 players, they were on the opposition's 30. They come up with a kick, and now they're defending realistically on the front foot in Huddersfield's 30, and it's very difficult for them to break this line.
Here is Big Earl Crabtree now.
And they need more surges like that from him.
Go! And down,
Daryl
James!
Griffin trying to replicate that, but doesn't make much progress. Roby with a good tackle.
Go! Tackle!
Lon Patrick was the dummy runner. Robinson
Tackle on the spot.
took it himself. And then Fulton hoists the kick. It's not a bad one, all things considered, but Wellens will defuse that.
Wellens did very well there with his back to play. He didn't know what he had. As far as chasing, he didn't care. He didn't take his eyes off the ball. Secured the possession.
Move! Hold!
This is a giant side missing. You've got to remember several key players. No, Jamal Alesi, Bayumu, Kevin Brown, of course, injured. Danny Kerman injured, and then of course you've got Scott Moore and Keith Mason, who are still suspended. And what an issue that has been for the Giants to wrestle with, whether to ban those two. And it's a brave decision as well, with the season getting to this point. There's so much at stake.
Got to admire Nathan Brown's discipline. He said, you've messed up, you're going to have to miss some rugby, and that's the only way he felt he could teach those players a lesson.
Proving that those two are expendable.
Go!
Moore and Mason, for the moment anyway, but they will be back for the next game, whatever that might be, as Long puts the kick in.
He was proving who was in charge, Bill.
Move! Hold!
Nathan Brown.
Hold! Go!
Here's Lawrence now. The Saints really up in their faces. There is the Giants coach. He and Mick Potter, his opposite number. Old mates at St George for 2 ARL Grand Finals against the Brisbane Broncos in 1992 and 93, and having a big chat before the game, but the gloves are off now, and it's Potter's side who are leading by 14 points to 2. The Giants get the penalty.
James Roby just holding long, too long. I've not seen him defend with this much enthusiasm for a long time. They're really getting off the line. They're turning the opposition on the back.
Hold, lads. Hold.
James Roby just lying on too long there for the referee, Richard Silverwood.
Well, some of the fire has gone out of this early start from Saints. They roared into the lead here, albeit with the benefit of a stray Giants pass.
Well, Wilkin came in from a good angle then. He was hunting that shot. Daryl Griffin definitely saw him out the corner of his eye.
Move back.
On the halfway line with Earl Crabtree. Hodgson, quick hands. There was a Saints hand in there, was there? Play on, says the referee. Well,
was that off James Roby?
That was a Roby hand.
I think it may have hit him. I don't know whether he actually went for the ball. That inside play that Huddersfield used, we'll have a look at it here.
Roby sticks his
Roby, you're right, Tess, Bill.
Well, he missed that one, the referee and his officials. Admittedly, it was in the middle of the field and surrounded by bodies.
I think I actually heard Richard Silverwood go back to line and ask Daryl Griffin, did he touch it? Yes, he did, sir.
What's Daryl Griffin supposed to say?
He's honest, Daryl.
No. Here's Long. Flannery now. Flannery gets the ball away to Gidley, and Gardner comes back in field. Good tackle by Lawrence. Gidley, the kick just goes really across the field. Roby did get a hand to that. The Giants all pick it up. Now then, can they make some progress up the field? Saints not being that generous with territory as Leroy Cudjoe struggles to get to his feet. Look at that, Fasavalou on the field and in the face of Earl Crabtree.
I think these Saints team have got a competition for who can pull off the biggest shot in the game. They're coming out the line like lone rangers. Here you can see, bang!
Hold! Go!
He's a big man to put a shot on, but Marty Fasavalou give it a go there.
Pass! 5!
And that's the 5th tackle, and again the Giants struggling to make progress, and Luke Robinson almost going without the ball, doing well to adjust and get the kick over the top. Wellens at the 2nd attempt.
He done well there, Luke Robinson, again kicking off a slow play the ball. Huddersfield now need to start getting a quick play the ball toward the end of the set. That's why St Helens have been really, really strong up. Francis Melly turned into a half-back then.
Dan Marino would have been proud of that pass.
Maybe just getting a bit carried away there, Francis Melly.
They're trying to get on the edge of the Huddersfield defence. They know they're very tight, very compressed. The less said about that, the better.
Working hard in the rough. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Mick Potter knows that 14-2 is by no means comfortable. Half-hour mark just reached. The Giants may be having weathered the storm, looking to get some points on the board before the break. They haven't really threatened yet. Here is David Hodgson.
But even if they don't score, they've got to play up this end of the park. Get some energy back into the tank for the second half.
Brett Hodgson kicking early on. We've seen him do this before, and Sean Long very nearly going up without the ball. They did that in the semi-final against Saints.
Sean Long needed to be brave then. He needed to put his body on the line. Recently recovering from a facial injury. Bit of metal work in there as well from Sean Long.
Move!
There he is, Sean Long. They look like horns then. I'm not suggesting he's the devil, but he might know him.
Oh, and they've lost that. Fasavalou lost that ball. Finnegan snaffled it, but there was a hand in there.
And all the hard work to get back into this game defensively, getting up in St Helens territory. It's Fulton and Finnegan that dislodge that ball, give the penalty away. And again, they've got to defend in their own half now. You cannot ask and give St Helens penalties and invite them into your own territory.
Move! You got that, Darryl. Go.
Roby. Here is Maury Fasavalou. Good offload. Finds Roby again. Fulton pushing his luck there. Long, tall Clough now. Clough has had a great season, the only ever present for Saints this season, Paul Clough, as he plays that ball. Here is Wilkin now. Wilkin dumped to the ground. Again, Saints threatening. They're looking for more points before the break to take more wind out of the Giants' sails. Short pass, and Bryn Hargreaves was battling Maury Fasavalou for that. It was Hargreaves who got it. Long will kick across field and out of play.
Not the best kick from Sean Long. He knew where he wanted to put it. Just scuffed the outside of his boot. Left-footed kick. He wanted it right near the corner flag. Huddersfield get possession back. Still good defence from Saints at every opportunity. They're looking to drive the Giants back.
Still, that's a couple of sloppy bits of play from Saints at either end of the field. That Melly pass going straight out of play. Long's kick out of play. Just taking a bit of the pressure off this Giants side. Now Sean Lunt off the bench and into the action and gets a good pass away to Fatawira.
But worse than telling are pressuring them, it's in their defence. They're really hurrying Huddersfield into making mistakes when they've got the ball.
The pass goes behind Wild, but he manages to take a hold of it. Cudjoe now, and just an ankle tap there from Kyle Eastman, who protests his innocence.
And good play by Stephen Wild. Watch his body angle. He gets down, he gets up. He's probably got one of the quickest play the balls in Super League. Kyle Eastman hanging on. He won't let go of that leg. Just giving the penalty away.
Finnegan. Oh, Maury Fasavalou.
What you've got to do, you've got to look up and see where Big Marty is.
In fact, Maury Fasavallou's come off second best there because he's got blood all over his head. I think the two banged heads there. Finnegan Smiles all over his face.
Simon Finnegan's been struggling with a shoulder injury for the past couple of weeks. He's definitely leaning that way.
Robinson now. Robinson, great pass for Wilde. Oh, and Wilde couldn't keep a hold of it. He was juggling with the ball, thinking about where the pass was going to go. And Nathan Brown knows that in playoff rugby league, chances like that have got to be taken.
And you've got to take your chances. 14 points to 2 on the scoreboard. They know that when they get down here, they've got to take every opportunity. Stephen Wilde just didn't have hold of that ball. Nathan Brown, oh.
Another Dan Marino impression there. Stephen Wilde won't get many chances like that. He works his socks off in defence.
Maury Fasavalu, meanwhile, being instructed to leave the field by Richard Silverwood to have this cut in his head. And the shirt changed, the cut's seen too, the shirt changed. He can't continue in that shirt either. Never mind a red V, it's becoming a red shirt as Francis Melly takes that pass.
Well, they send Mari off and they bring on Big Pulatua. It just doesn't stop for Huddersfield.
Wilkin, tackled by Fulton. Fulton very nearly. The whistle was heading for Richard Silverwood's mouth then as Liam Fulton just had a hold. And that one will count.
Oh, I'm not sure. Paul Clough, he loses that ball. Just can't quite see the Huddersfield player holding on to his ankle. It's Andy Raleigh. Does he still have hold of him? Yeah. Spot on by Richard Silverwood.
Well, lads, hold lads, go.
Here is Tony Pulatua, whose early try probably settled some Saints' nerves. Strange to talk about Saints having nerves, but I would imagine after the form they've been, they might just have been a little bit apprehensive. Haven't been in great form at home, especially.
No, but it's the focus on going into the playoffs. They've not been in real good form in the back end of this year, but the focus is all about the playoffs and how to play. That's how you defend for Huddersfield. Coming off the line, if you know you're going to be short, you've got to come in, you've got to make sure you wrap the ball and all. But St Helens, they play with speed, they play with some real direction, and they've got some players like Sean Long who can really read the game.
Here is Long now. Long for Pulatua. That's the 5th tackle. And Long will go for 1 point. Lazy sweep of the boot, and it's under the bar, claiming that there was a hand on it. Richard Silverwood didn't see anything.
He's looking for some help. I actually saw Sean Long practice 2 or 3 drop goals before the 2 teams went in. He's feeling, as I think as well, I think it was very close.
Long claiming that... Was it Stephen Wilde who put his hand up?
I think it's Finnegan.
Well, whoever it was, they didn't get anywhere near it.
Okay, top 20.
And the word from video referee and Smith that no, there wasn't a touch. Well, if you don't ask, you don't get, I suppose.
And Brett Hodgson was a bit upset then that the referee,
ask.
Richard Silverwood, did go to the video ref saying, why did you go to the ref when you didn't think that he touched it?
Move!
But if it's there to use, then why not use it?
Yeah, but it should be the referee's decision to use it, not
agree
the
with you,
referee being persuaded to do that by one of the players. Here's Griffin.
Yeah, good point, Bill. I think if the technology's there,
agree
let's
with you,
use
Bill.
it.
Yep, you've done him there, Bill. 1-0, Bill Arthur.
Oh dear.
Hold.
It can only mean one thing.
Yeah,
Revenge.
unlucky, Bill.
The kick from Fulton finds Melly, fielding it on his own try line.
Hold. Go.
And into the final minute this first half, which Saints to be pretty satisfied with. Certainly the first quarter of the game, they get the penalty. The dying swan act from Paul Wellens, just to emphasise the point that he's been pushed over.
But again, all the hard work done in. It's a little shove by Robinson there. Wellens got a 9.9 for that dive.
Well, Paul Clough and John Wilkin were already heading for the tunnel. Not waiting for that penalty to be taken, but Richard Silverwood telling them that play continues until the ball is dead.
Sean Long will leather this ball now.
It's come to Wilkin. We wanted to be off the field a moment ago. He has leathered it. Gardner will chase it. Oh, good take from Hodgson. Great catch. to end the first half, which Saints certainly dominated in the beginning. Melli and Pulyatua, their try scorers.